On behalf of the Morning News and Francis Marion University, I'm delighted to welcome you all here this morning. You know, the Marion Medallion this year celebrates its 10th anniversary. This milestone is a good time for us to reflect briefly on the heritage of this medallion and its history. First, let me recognize the previous recipients of this award over the past 9 years. I would ask that you would stand when I call your name, and please let's hold our applause until all have been announced. In 2012, Kathy Baxley, Henry Johnson, and Hayward King were recipients of the medallion. In 2013, Bill and Olive Timberlake and the late Ralph Porter were recipients of the medallion. 2014, Henry Beatty and Clyde Odom and Henry Brunson. 2015, John and Vicki Kirby, Paige Alexander, and Deanna Strickland. 2016, Carlos Washington and Manna House. 2017, Reggie Armstrong, Carl Harmon, and the late Courtney Graham. 2018, Billy Powers, Help for Kids. 2019, Chuck McNeil and Parking Lot Ministry. And 2020, the former mayor, Stephen Wakila and Alan Floyd. Ladies and gentlemen, the previous recipients of the medallion, the Marion Medallion. Let's give them a round. So just a little information about the medallion. The medallion is, of course, named for General Francis Marion. It was created to recognize the substantial contributions made by citizens of the PD to the well-being of the region, reflective of General Marion's example of selfless service during and after the Revolutionary War. This recognition is important because it shines a light, it illuminates on good news in a region that is often defined by its challenges, and because it serves to highlight our very, very best and brightest achievements. You know, from its very creation 10 years ago, this award has honored an impressive list of regional heroes who have quietly gone about the business of making the PD a better place to live and work. Over the years, we've honored those who have helped the sick, fed the hungry, sheltered the homeless. We've also honored business executives, coaches, educators, volunteers, and philanthropists. All these people were deserving. All met a single, simple criterion. They worked to make their world a better place, and they expected absolutely nothing in return for their efforts. Indeed, one of the real defining tests of our decision each year is the reaction of the recipients to the news that they're receiving the award. Almost invariably, they tell us they don't deserve it. Of course, others with whom we converse feel very differently. Occasionally, a medallion has been presented to an organization rather than to an individual. There was very, very much debate about this in the beginning, but in the long run, we've realized that it makes perfect sense. You see, teamwork, the spirit of cooperation, the power of many hands is simply too important not to acknowledge. After all, General Marion didn't win the war by himself. You sometimes hear historians give George Washington partial credit. But we South Carolinians know better. Great organizations can do great things. Around here, that happens every day. In fact, today's first recipient is an organization. You know, it used to be a small group, but it's grown quite a bit over the years. Today, it's a powerful force for accomplishing miraculous things across our region. HopeHealth was founded in 1991 as Hope for the PD. Began as a grassroots HIV/AIDS support organization, it moved on to case management and ultimately actual medical care. Eventually, it morphed into a comprehensive health care organization providing primary care and more across the PD region. Today, HopeHealth provides integrated health services to more than 50,000 patients in the areas surrounding Florence, Orangeburg, Aiken, and Williamsburg counties. It was designated a federally qualified health center in 2007, allowing a significant expansion of both its resources and its services and its capacity to treat patients. HopeHealth now has more than 550 employees spread in 14, soon to be 15 locations. We just celebrated the expansion of their office on the FMU campus yesterday. It's more than 90 providers cover primary care, pediatrics, dental care, chiropractic care, rheumatology, endocrinology, behavioral health, and psychiatry, pain management, substance abuse, and women's health services. HopeHealth provides health services to all kinds of people, but its greatest impact is on those who have nowhere else to turn. Its low-cost or no-cost service allows access to medical services to the very least and most needy in our society. Provides them with better health. It also provides them with hope. I guess the name sums it up. Please join me in congratulating HopeHealth as it receives this year's Marion Medallion. CEO Carl Humphreys, the person who had the vision and determination to make this extraordinary organization possible, is accepting the award on behalf of the 550 recipients today. Mr. Humphreys.
Wow. You know, there are a variety of ways that our community honors its citizens. As I reflect on the nature of this award and the link it has to community service, it really makes me proud that HopeHealth was selected. The fact that we're mentioned alongside previous recipients like Mayor Wakila, Reggie Armstrong, Courtney Graham, Parking Lot Mission, Manor House, Kathy Baxley, Ralph Porter, and all the others is truly an honor that we'll cherish for years to come. There's a lot of people to thank, way too many for me to get them all, and I want to apologize in advance if you're here today and I don't specifically mention your name. But I want to start with Dr. Carter in the Morning News. Thank you for what you've done in putting this together and for the selection process each year, and thank you for seeing something in HopeHealth that caused you to think that we belong with those other names that we've mentioned earlier. If you're on the HopeHealth Board of Directors and you're here today, or you've served on the Board of Directors at some point in the past, please lift your hand and keep it up for a second so everyone can see you. All HopeHealth Board members, Joe, Nick, past and present. These are folks who've led our organization at one time or the other, and I think we ought to show our appreciation to them. Joe, I hate to single one person out, but I was talking to Joe earlier. I couldn't help but be reminded. He's not going to remember this, but when I came in 2000, Joe Biddle was the chairman of the board of directors, and he said, we've got to do a better job of connecting to the community, of telling people who we are and what we do. And you know, people don't know who we are. We got to get the word out. And he said, you need to go out and meet people. And he gave me this list of people that I needed to connect with. And one of them was Dr. Ali Brooks. We haven't gotten to know each other that well over the years, but it's ironic to me that 20 years later, after you had his name on the list, his wife, Barbara, serves on our board of directors. And then Dr. Carter was another name on that list, someone that you sort of pushed me to get to know. And now you can see the fruits of how that's developed over the years. So I did do some of what you asked me to do, okay? Finally, our team members, we have several employees here. And again, I'd ask you to lift your hand up if you're an employee of HopeHealth, either now or sometime in the past. Let everyone see you, and I'd appreciate you guys if you'd show some love for these They came over and surprised me a week or two ago, Don and a crew from it was quite an entourage from the paper and Dr. Carter, to tell me that I would be receiving this award. I was totally shocked by it, didn't know what was going on. And in the days since then, I've reflected on what is it about HopeHealth that causes us to be seen in this light. And I thought of three things: perseverance, compassion, and pursuit of excellence. In the early days of HopeHealth, there were volunteers who all they did was provide meals and transportation and support for people living with AIDS. No money, no employed staff, just hearts filled with love for people who, quite frankly, weren't being loved by the community. And the perseverance of those folks in those early days to keep pushing and but long before I got here, speaks to the perseverance. Compassion is the second one. I know all nonprofits say they have compassion, but I think at HopeHealth we're different. And we tell folks when they come and apply for a job at HopeHealth, if you don't have a deep, real sense of compassion for your fellow man, don't come here. Don't come and work for us. It's not the right place for you. And then finally, the pursuit of excellence. We don't want to be average. We don't want to do just enough to get by. We want to be the best at everything we do. And hopefully these are some of the characteristics that we're seeing in us and cause us to be recognized. I want to close with an email from one of our employees. She sent me this on her 15-year anniversary. She works at one of our remote sites that still only provides HIV/AIDS services. She's been in the HIV/AIDS nursing field for 30 years. First as a nurse and now as a nurse practitioner. Give that a minute to think about. 30 years. And on her 15-year anniversary with HopeHealth, she sent me this email. Good morning. Today I celebrate a milestone. Today is my 15-year anniversary as a HopeHealth employee, and I wanted to recap my journey. In 15 years, I've lost some memorable patients that helped shape the type of service I provide, networked with incredible professionals, developed relationships, friendships, inside and outside the organization, experienced growth personally and professionally, mentored new staff and the next generation of HIV nurses, laughed, cried, hugged, kept secrets, told lies, and made peace. Became exhausted, discouraged, grateful, and excited. Took care of friends, neighbors, co-workers, church members, and community acquaintances. Found myself in scary situations: the crack house, the shelter, the soup kitchen, the strip, and the jail. I've gone out of my way, crossed some lines, and reestablished boundaries. Cared for families, sisters and brothers, husbands and wives, aunts and nieces, fathers and children, cousins, most who didn't know the other's diagnosis. Saw love triangles, learned about same-gender partnerships, experienced marriages, births, deaths, attended funerals for patients I cared about. Witnessed promising new treatment strategies, worked in old buildings, new locations, listened to new grant announcements, and watched the expansion of services. Treated famous people, homeless people, addicted people, broken people, hurt people, scared people, ordinary people, my people. Shared my faith with staff and patients, prayed for and with both. I'm still learning new things in the field of HIV, still loving what I do, still grateful for my job. And then she closes with this: most of all, through it all, I kept the faith that I could make a difference. And on some days, I believe and I know that I do. I'm forever grateful for the opportunities that HopeHealth has given me, the trust they place in me, and the support I receive. 15 down, 15 more to go. Thank you all for listening to me today, and thank you for the honor of receiving the Marion Medallion.
Don, will you come up and present the next recipient?
Before this introduction, I just want to say that anybody connected with HopeHealth, if you could stick around at the end of this program, we'd like to get a group photo for tomorrow's paper. I also want to say I think so highly of HopeHealth, that's where I go for my primary care. Woo! And I also want to do an introduction for our new general manager at the Morning News. You might have read about him. He's here in the flesh today, and that's Matt Tranquil. Matt came to us from Rapid City, South Dakota, but he's a native of West Virginia. And it's a small world in our building because he's our third Matt on the staff from West Virginia. We have Matt Robertson, who's behind him shooting video today. We also have Matt Christian on our staff. I've been telling these Matts that to avoid confusion, we need a Matthew, a Matt, and a Matty. And Matt Tranquil has said graciously that I can call him anything I want. So, thank you, Matty. Our next medallion recipient is a retired educator, civic leader, family man, mentor, and champion for equitable education for all. He has spent his adult life putting the children of Florence County first and guiding and molding them into future leaders. Let's cut to the quick. Our next Marion Medallion recipient is Dr. Ali Eugene Brooks Jr. The man, the myth, the legend. The question shouldn't be, why him? The question is, what took us so long? Barbara Brooks says her husband has devoted his life to educating children, not taking time to even develop a hobby. This was his life, she says. He cared as much about his students as he did his own. She says he has a true servant's heart. His friends say that they would want this man by their side if they had to go into battle. Someone strong, yet compassionate, honest, and fair. He focuses not on Allie Brooks, but on other people being treated fairly and right, says the Reverend Merritt Graves, a longtime friend and pastor of Mount Zion AME Church in Florence. I don't know of a better community servant. Graves describes Brooks as a dynamic, one-of-a-kind person who is very firm but fair, very Christian, and the ultimate educator. Brooks attended Florence Public Schools and graduated from Wilson High School in 1964, and then South Carolina State University in 1968 with a Bachelor of Science degree in Mathematics Education. He received his Master's of Education in Education Administration in 1974 from the University of South Carolina. He earned his Education Specialist degree at the University of South Carolina in 2014 and received an honorary doctorate from Francis Marion University in December 2005. Brooks began his teaching career in 1970-71 as a math teacher at Moore Middle School in Florence. He was also an assistant principal of West Florence High School from 1971 to 74 before becoming principal at Wilson High School. He served as the superintendent of Florence School District 1 from June 2010 to June 2014. Brooks set an example and high standards for many educators who have followed in his footsteps. Retired educator Wayne Bell says, "I met him in 1974. We both started at Wilson High School that same year. Bell was a new teacher, Brooks the new principal. Bell says Brooks encouraged him to pursue a career in education beyond the classroom. He eventually became a principal. They both retired in 2005 at Wilson, just as they had started, except this time Bell had come back to Wilson as Brooks' assistant principal. He is my friend," Bell says. "He was my boss, and he taught me to be fair and honest in my dealings with students and parents." Bell says Brooks was a student-oriented principal. He said students came to Brooks to solve problems before they could become problems. He was a strong disciplinarian, Bell said. By the book, Brooks. By the book, Brooks. Don't you love that? Eric Robinson, the current principal of Wilson High School, says Brooks has been a pillar in the community for many, many years. He is a giant in the community, an exemplary role model who gives back to the community without asking and without question. I have known him all my life. He has been a great role model for me. Robinson says when you think of Wilson High School, you immediately think of Allie Brooks. He personifies Wilson High School, Robinson says. Even after retiring, Brooks has continued to find ways to help children as a mentor and a tutor. Since 2012, he has mentored Florence 1 students. He and his wife mentor in 8 schools at the elementary and middle school level. Brooks also has worked to build better relationships with people in the community. My wife and I have worked with different groups to help cultivate better relationships between African Americans and non-African Americans, Brooks says. We have seen some improvements and progress made, but we have there's much further we have to go. The couple has worked to provide shelter for the homeless. They worked with a group called Family Promise. The group included 12 host churches which housed homeless families for a week at a time, and several support churches. For nearly 4 years, and hopefully for many more, Brooks has shared his exceptional, level-headed wisdom monthly as a morning news citizen columnist. Reverend Graves says Brooks does not serve on a project or a committee in name only. He does the time, Graves says. They have worked together on numerous committees and projects together over the years. If I had to go into battle, Graves said, I'd like to have him at my side. Surprise, surprise. Brooks indeed served a little more than 2 years as an officer in the U.S. Army, with tours of duty in Korea and Oklahoma. Let us now salute this outstanding leader for a job well done, a job quite worthy of a Marion Medallion. Please come on. I dropped this last time I opened the box. That's the real thing. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Dr. Carter, Mr. Causeway, Mr. Tranquil, to the support staffs of Francis Marion University and the Morning News. I want to thank you all. I don't know whether or not somebody gave you all a Tylenol before you all came and visited me about this award, but it certainly was a surprise. And my wife said, put this on your calendar and don't ask me anything else. And being the man of the house and having the last word in the house, I said, yes, ma'am. But we got in the car. I said, where are we going on the day off? She said, we're going to Wilson. I said, okay. So we rode, pulled up in the front of the school, and out comes this entourage. Dr. Carter, I said, somebody need to call security. And see Tucker Mitchell and see Causeway and representing the Morning News staff. To God be the glory. And I want to thank all of you who thought I was worthy of this award. But I accept it on behalf of all the men and women and students who worked with me from birth to the present. Starting with my family, my wife, youngest child drove in from Charlotte this morning, and she's here. The other two, my grandchildren, who would like to be here, godchild, mother of my godchild is here. The elder sister is here, seated here, Miss Robinson. A lot of people have a drive-by attack on the African-American phrase, it takes a village to raise a child. But for those of you who truly don't understand that, that meant that everybody in the neighborhood had an interest in raising everybody else's child. My sister, when it was necessary, applied the Board of Education to the seat of knowledge. And you can hear my baccalaureate address all over the neighborhood. But I accept the award, first of all, for my family connections, for establishing a foundation for Ali Eugene Brooks Jr. And it's on their behalf that I accept this. My wife would tell you that being principal is 24/7, 365 job. We would get up in the morning, she would go to McLeod as a registered nurse. I would go to Wilson, we'd get up at 5 o'clock. And on many occasions, I would not get home. On one morning I didn't get home until 2:30 a.m. My daughter in Maryland called, and everybody wanted to know where I was. But we were busy running schedules so that students would have them the next day. And I had the cooperation and coordination with the administration at South Lawrence and West Lawrence High School. Yeah, we were rivals, but when it came down to the business of doing what's best for the students, we worked together as a team. So I thank my family, first of all. This award I've shared with you. Next, I want to share with the educators that I work with, many of whom are here today. From Wilson High School, from other schools in the district, for all the other districts and schools across the state and the nation that I have been affiliated with. In my college universities. Francis Marion, as the principal of Wilson High School, we worked together at Francis Marion to pull together major initiatives in the state to include the Teacher Cadet Program. But more importantly, the faculty, staff, including the presidency, saw fit to let their children come to Wilson High School and attend there and enjoy attending there. To come, in other words, across the tracks. Excellence is anywhere. And one thing we did as a team, we made sure that we built it, that we built an environment where parents trusted us as administrators to take care of their children. And I always said in the orientation, once the parents let them out of the car, or whether they ride a bicycle or walk, when they came on the campus, they were mine. They were mine. And I meant that. And I mean that today. I had one of the students I tutor right now after school asked me how old I was the other day. I said, how old do you think I am? She said, 100. I said, okay, thank you very much. And by the way, you look kind of spiffy. I said, thank you. You never know what's coming out of the mouths of babes. For our educators, I thank you. For all the veterans who are in the building and elsewhere, I wear 2 lapel pins. This one is for veterans. I'm very proud to have served in the military. I know the president of Francis Marion is a Marine, and we don't get in arguments much about service. But a veteran is a veteran. And I appreciate the service that the respect and the men and women gave me as serving as an officer in the United States Army. In August of 1968, graduated on the 4th, got married on the 11th, went to Fort Sill, Oklahoma in September to December, went to Korea in January of 69, February of 70, and came back to Oklahoma once again, and got out the day I was to make the rank of captain. And I called my daddy and mother and asked them what they thought, whether or not I should stay in or come home. And my father said, I want you to come home before I pass. And so I thank all of the persons in the military. I thank the members of the Reverend clergy who worked with my wife and me to help implement mentoring program, church-school relationship program in Florence School District 1, after having attended a workshop with Dr. Tony Evans in Dallas, Texas. And then last but not least, the community in general. You don't do or accomplish anything by yourself. A person thinks that they, as the kid said, they think they all that, got a rude awakening coming to them. It's what other people think of you that establishes your sense of worth. If people don't trust you, then you just in the front, you're not leading. And so in closing, when my wife puts up the sign that says, sit down, I want to thank all of you for this opportunity. And Ali E. Brooks Jr. name is on here. But I accept it on behalf of the men, women, children, and everybody else I've worked with. I thank Mr. Caldwell for the opportunity to write a column in the morning news. All the awards I have received have been surprises. I didn't campaign for them. I won't ever campaign. That's why I won't be a politician. Because I'll only be in office one time. Because I'm going to do what's right for everybody. And that is what we need to have today and tomorrow. So I thank you. I thank all of you for being here. And for those of you who are continuing to serve. That's the greatest thing that you can do. Be of help to somebody else. No matter what profession it is. Be God-centered. Don't let me forget that. I did forget that. But one thing that helped me to get where I am, I carried Route 66 with me every day. That's how you make it. You have to be spiritual. Stay in the Word, because there's a word for every situation in the Word. May God bless you.
Please stay around after the ceremony, if you will, and come up and congratulate our many recipients here today, Allie and Mrs. Brooks, and all the employees of HopeHealth that are with us today. Before we adjourn, I just want to take a personal moment and thank our communications office, Tucker, and I see Matt McCall back there. Josh may be here. All the communications folks at FMU who work so hard putting events like this together and do so professionally. Thank you, Tucker. Don, another good year. My compliments to Morning News for joining us in this, and that concludes this morning's ceremonies. Thank you.